Hi friends, today we're going to work through a core stabilizing sequence, which hopefully will be really helpful to you. Please follow your own body wisdom on what feels appropriate for you. And if you have any doubt about its suitability, then speak to a physical therapist, physiotherapist, somebody else who, like a personal trainer or a yoga teacher, who should be able to advise you on suitability. Okay, so some props that might be helpful to you, a couple of blankets if you have them, also a yoga block. I will use a strap, it's not essential. And you may need a small washcloth or flannel. So yeah, grab your things, and a non-slip mat is really helpful. And yeah, so let's get going. We're going to start lying down on the back and just see whether your head is comfortably down. We want to have the chin a little bit lower than the forehead. So if it happens that your chin is somewhat lifted and you're struggling here, then I would suggest putting a blanket just underneath the tops of the shoulders, the neck, and the head, so that you can bring that sort of nice line through the face. Okay, well, I don't need that, so I'm going to get rid of that. And then have your block ready. And initially, I just want you to feel at the curves of your spine. So feel the normal curve at your lower back and allow your sacrum to feel like it's evenly tipped. So you're not tilting your pelvis too far forward, and neither are you tucking your tail, so you are pressing the lower back to the floor. So we want to have just that normal little curve in the lower back. Now, you could, some people find it helpful just to put a small little cloth, something similar, just at the top of the pelvis where it meets the lower back. And this will help to maintain that very natural curve at the lower back. So in a moment, we're going to be engaging the inner thighs, engaging the pelvic floor, and I'll encourage you to breathe fairly deeply. And what you're avoiding is pushing the ribs up, up, up. So we're not coming into a back bend, okay? So you want to just keep the ribs in a normal position here. And see if you could find a little bit more space so the bottom ribs come comfortably to the mat, to the floor. Take your brick and pop it between your thighs, quite close to the top of the thighs. You can have it going this way or along the length. And depending on the positioning of the thigh bones in the pelvis, you might turn the block this way between the legs or this way between the legs. So see what feels right for you. Now, arms are down. And now squeeze the block, apply pressure all the way from the top to the knees. And then keep breathing and just pay attention to that normal low back curve. Okay, so you are not lifting your ribs too high. And you're going to try and breathe right up into the side body, side ribs. Okay. So just relax the grip on the block for a moment. And then the next progression here is to squeeze the block and then to pull up on the pelvic floor muscles. So all the way up, like you're sucking water up through a straw, really engaging the pelvic floor muscles. And if you want to add a little bit more challenge, you're going to maintain that normal low back curve and just hover the feet a little bit off the floor. And you'll stay here for 3 to 5 breaths, just making sure that you are not gripping your teeth, your jaw. And then you put the feet down, relax the grip of the block. We're going to do that 3 times, okay? So if it's difficult for you, keep the feet down and squeeze the block, pull up on the pelvic floor muscles, hover the feet. 3 to 5 breaths, breathing right up into the sides of the ribs without pushing the chest up too much. And then when you've done your 3 to 5 breaths, you relax the feet down, relax the grip on the block. Okay, so we've got one more set. So as you're ready, squeeze the pelvic floor, squeeze the block, keep pulling up on the pelvic floor as you hover the feet and taking those nice smooth breaths. And I should mention as well, obviously I'm talking, but ideally you want to be breathing in and out through your nose, not your mouth. And if I'm going too fast, too slow, obviously you can do this at your own pace. So rest your feet down and then remove the block. And then you might like to just bring your knees in towards your belly and just rock a little bit on your back. It's pretty good to do after that. Roll over onto your side. Stay there for a moment or two. I like to spend about 3 breaths on the side and then just coming up. Okay. And now we're going to come over to a plank position, but we'll do forearm plank. So start with your forearms on the floor and then nudge your knees back so they are behind your hips. Okay. And we'll keep the toes tucked under. You're going to push back through your heels and pull the belly organs up into the spine. So a few things to watch out for here. The head is not falling down. The head is drawing forward. And I'm just going to roll my sleeves up as well because I find it a little bit easier when I have my arms on the non-stick mat, my bare arms. Okay, so options here. Keep the knees down. Keep them behind the hips. Pull the belly up. Lengthen through the head, neck, and then press the heels back. Or if you feel comfortable doing this, you're going to lift your knees. Okay, and we'll stay here for somewhere between 3 and 10 breaths. Breathing in and out through the nose. And just back of the neck is long. Three to 10 breaths to suit you. And then in between, you're taking the knees down, taking a little rest. Okay, and then we'll go again. And you're going to do this for 3 times, 3 rounds of effort. Again, breathing in and out through the nose. You could build up to 16 breaths, which is probably about a 90-second hold. Definitely easier when I don't have to talk through it. When you're resting, you might want to spend, say, 3 or 4 rounds of breath, so about 20 seconds to rest. Okay, so we're going for that last round. Whether the knees are up or down, keep pressing back through the heels and feel like you're sort of cinching in, like you were tightening a corset around the front ribs, side waist, and then hugging all the belly organs up. And I feel it's a bit harder on the forearms than it is on straight arms. So you're really going to get lots of good progress with this one. When you come out, resting for 3 or 4 breaths. So I'm just enjoying coming off the forearms for a moment. Okay. And then we're going to do side plank and we'll give side plank a go on the forearms. But actually, I'm going to turn to my weaker side first, which is my left side. We'll bend the knees. And here, if you feel confident, you could straighten the legs, but I like to start with the knees bent. So the elbow is underneath the shoulder. And then feel that your top hip is coming very slightly forward of your bottom hip, which usually feels better on the hip bone. The knees can be somewhat bent, all the way straight, or kind of really significantly bent. So you're going to see which works best for you, okay? So we're pressing down into the forearm, dragging the bottom ribs up, and then lift up your bottom hip. So all that effort is coming up from the waist. The top hand can go on the hip, or you might bring the top arm up. Now support the weight of the head. The head is not hanging in midair, like hanging down, dragging down. Okay, and again, you would stay here for 3 to 10 breaths. And then you'll take a rest, maybe resting for 3 breaths. And come back into that same side. So pulling up, arm can be up, or arm can be on the top hip. And the feet, you're sort of pushing back through the heels, as if you were standing on the feet, gluing the feet together. Okay. And then we're going to do one more. So I find this quite difficult on my left side, but you could lift up to straight legs. Okay. Pushing out through the heels. And you're choosing whether you stay for 3 or somewhere up to 10 breaths. Okay, go ahead and switch sides. Keeping the elbow underneath the shoulder. Choose bent knees or straight legs. And let's go for it. So pull up on that bottom hip. This is definitely an easier side for me. Resting down for about 3 breaths in between. And if you struggle to do 3 repetitions, of course, it's fine just to stick with one, but you might just stay for like 1 or 2 or 3 breaths and then do it 3 times. So we're building up the strength slowly. And again, if I'm going too fast, too slow, you can adjust accordingly. Once you know the sequence, you can practice either the whole thing straight through, or if you don't have the time to do the whole thing right through, you can just sort of take 1 or 2 exercises from this sequence, do them sort of, do them in bits, in sections. Oh. Down we come. Okay. Just be glad to get out of that one, even though it's so good for us. Come onto all fours, pad under your knees if you need more support, okay? We're going to come to a tabletop position with the back. So you're not sagging your ribs down and you're not over rounding. So you're just somewhere in the middle there. Put the hands underneath the shoulders. Start with the knees underneath the hips, and then you can always take your knees a bit further back to increase difficulty. So press firmly down into the hands and then take out one arm and hold it out to the side, not too high. So it wants to come about the height of the shoulder, and you're going to hold it there. But guess how many breaths? 4 breaths. Okay. And then pop it down. And then the other side. So you're not going too high with the arm, so the rib cage isn't turning. And what you'll be surprised to notice is how much the abdominal muscles are working, just holding the arm out. Okay, so about 4 rounds of breath each side, and that's 1. So then you'll repeat this, say 8 to 10 times. To make it more difficult, you can take the knees a little bit further back behind the hips. And then the next progression, rather than arm to the side, might be taking the arm forward. And again, not too high. The palm can be turned down, the palm can be turned to the side. And you want to feel like you are just pulling up with those belly muscles, holding the belly organs in for about 4 breaths. And then set the hand down, switch and do the other side. If 4 is too many, do 3. Put the hand down, and I'll do 1 more set, but ideally you're working up to maybe 8 to 10 sets. And again, just watch that you're supporting the weight of the head. Okay. So then again, to step it up, maybe do the next level of difficulty, we're going to take 1 arm and 1 leg and extend them at the same time. Okay. So see how you go, holding perhaps now for 3 breaths, and you might do this 8 times. So extending the right leg, left arm. Neither of them are too high. They're definitely not higher than the shoulder and the hip. Keep hugging the belly organs up. You're just staying here for 3 breaths. And then you put the hand and the knee back down. And then we take the other side. And reaching out through the fingertips, through the foot. So that's 1 round, okay? You're going to repeat. Keep that supporting arm nice and straight. That's 2. So that's 3 rounds. I'll do 1 more. And then obviously if you're able to do a few more. And if it's not possible to extend the leg and the arm at the same time, work progressively, arm to the side first. See how that feels. More challenge. Try taking the arm forward. I'm getting very hot now. I'm slightly regretting my choice to wear long sleeves. Okay, and then pop everything down. Then you can take cat-cow or just sit up for a moment. Give yourself a little rest. Notice how you feel. I feel the heat building in quite a satisfying way. Okay. I'm going to come on to the back. And again, you could use your little washcloth if you wanted to, just to prevent too much decrease of the lumbar curve, all right? But the pelvis is going to tilt a little bit forward and back with this one. So just locate yourself on your back, bring a little bit more space between the rib cage and the pelvis, and just let the bottom lower ribs settle down. We'll bring the arms out to the sides, lengthen the back of the neck. And then ideally we want to be breathing slowly and smoothly in and out through the nose, okay? Draw the knees in towards your belly. You might hug them in for a moment if you enjoy that sensation. And then try and lengthen the back of the neck rather than tipping the head back. And if necessary, you're going to take padding underneath your head. See if you can now straighten your legs straight up above the hips, okay? Now, if this is difficult for you because the hamstrings are not so flexible, you can bend your knees and keep your knees over your hips and keep your shins horizontal like a tabletop, okay? Pull your knees back in to your chest. Now, as you inhale, sweep your arms overhead and bring your legs into either that bent knee position, or you can take the legs straight up. Okay, now you're going to hold this here, reaching through the feet and reaching through the arms for 3 slow breaths in and out through the nose. And as you exhale, bring your knees in towards your belly, arms down towards the floor. Take a breath or 2. And then again, inhaling. Totally fine to have the knees bent, reaching the arms, but see if you can keep the knees aligned over the hips. And also breathing into the side ribs without pushing the front ribs too much up to the ceiling. As you exhale, bring the arms down, knees in. Inhale, we're going to go again. Breathing into the side ribs. Three breaths, then pull it back in. Okay, this is 4, number 4. So see if you can hold this one for 6 breaths. Exhale, come back in. Okay, we're going to go for 8. And I'll just show you that other variation again with the knees bent, holding for 3 breaths. Exhale to bring it in. So that's number 5. We go for 6. And again, number 7. Feel that when the legs are extended away from the belly, you're right on the sacrum, so not overarching or over flattening the lower back. Okay, and this is the last one. So see if you can hold it for 6 slow breaths. Reach the arms, reach the legs. And pull everything in. And you might like to just hold on to the backs of the thighs or the fronts of the shins, have a little rock. Notice how that feels. So that one, you could just stick with that. Or there's again another progression that you could do where we will alternate. So a little bit like the bird dog, alternate the leg and the arm. Okay. So option 1, we'll start here with the knees drawing in. So you might just take your knees above your hips and then one foot comes towards the floor and then the other foot comes towards the floor, and you're going to alternate moving the arm and the leg. If you are able to, you can take the leg out and forward. But again, pay attention to how it feels in the lower back, because you definitely want to avoid overarching here. Okay, so just keeping those lower back ribs down on the floor and the front ribs a little bit knitted down. Start with your arms beside, and if this is too much for you, just skip it. Start with your arms down beside you. Okay, your knees drawing in. So we're going to let's take the left arm and right leg, and you're going to inhale and exhale. And inhale, switch. And exhale, bring it back. Okay, so you could just be taking the foot down towards the floor, reaching through the arm like you're going to touch the wall behind you, or extending the leg. Okay. And with this one, you could count how many times you're doing it, or you could set a timer and go for somewhere between, say, 1 and 3 minutes. So just maintaining that nice normal curve at the lower back. So what we're doing here is we're really using the abs. Breathing slowly in and out through the nose. And for the purposes of this recording, I may not go for 3 minutes. I'm not being lazy. I'm just keeping the recording somewhat manageable for you. Let's do one more of each side. Beautiful. And then again, you might enjoy just rocking a little bit on your back. Bring the knees in. Notice if you're holding any tension in the neck and the head. So let that go. Okay, we're going to bring the feet to the floor with the knees bent. So for this one, we're squeezing the legs in and out. Now, you could take a rolled blanket to kind of support the legs here if that feels better for you, if you're concerned about overstretching. Okay. I'll not use those now. I wanted to show you that as an option. If you don't have rolled blankets, you'll use cushions. So the feet come together, and what you're going to do, you're going to press the feet together, and you're going to slowly bring the knees in and slowly let the knees out, okay? And to add more difficulty, you could squeeze a block between the feet, okay? If you don't want to do that, that is totally fine. I'm just giving you options to make things harder if you feel that you'd like to. So rest the arms down. And again, just get in touch with the back body. The head is not too tipped back, chin a bit lower than the forehead. Press the feet together, really squeeze those feet in. And as you exhale, slowly bring the knees up. They won't go all the way. So it's a really slow breath in and a slow breath out. Control that movement. So you are squeezing the feet, and you should feel the muscles of the legs working pretty hard here. So you're going to exhale, squeeze the legs in. Imagine you're in like really thick mud and you're struggling to move the legs. And inhale, bring the knees out. And you'll probably notice a little bit of trembling, shaking. Keep going. This is good news. That shaking means you are working the muscles. Okay, and inhale, trying not to grimace. We need strong outer hip and inner thigh muscles. They are part of your core stabilization system. So you keep going for about 10 to 12 repetitions. Keep the pressure on the feet. And again, if you need to rest or stop before 10 to 12, then please do so. So you are adapting and adjusting to meet your needs. And also don't rush. Going slowly is more difficult, but you are going to get more benefit, usually. Not always, but usually. And you'll be pleased to hear we haven't got very many more to go. But oh my goodness, you are going to be so strong. What you could do is do this sequence, especially if it feels like a new language to you, or you feel like you really need to create more stability around the trunk. Then you could do this sequence every day for 6 weeks, which would be an amazing way to work. Or when you feel a bit more proficient, you could just do it a couple of times a week, maybe dropping down to once a week or once a month. So I really value being strong in my yoga practice. And generally, I'm working in much more of these amazing stabilization exercises. I've learned from some incredible teachers. I want to give credit to Mary Richards, who writes about these exercises in her phenomenal book, Teach People Not Poses. And yeah, so it's really helped me to enjoy my body in a very different way. Find it incredibly satisfying doing this work. I can really feel the shaking. I'm going to go for one more. Okay. You want to keep squeezing the feet. Okay. And then whew, rest. And again, if it feels helpful, just bring the knees in, have a little rock. So we're nearly there. Okay. Bridge pose. This is where you may want to use a strap. I have pre-looped my strap. So if you've got a strap with a buckle, you can make a loop, and then that loop is going to be about hip width. Don't have the buckle on the ankles, it'll feel horrible. Have the buckle just above the ankle bone. Set the feet reasonably close to the pelvis. So when you lift the pelvis, the feet are kind of underneath the knees. Put the arms down on the floor. Drag a bit more length through the spine, so the back bottom ribs are down on the floor. Now I like to turn the upper arms out so you feel like you are bringing the shoulder blades a little bit in, and then spin the forearms and the palms of the hands down, and then just lengthen the back of the neck. So this really helps me to feel stable through the upper body and the shoulders. You could also catch a hold of the side of the mat with your hands. So that's another way you can feel stable. So we're going to lift the hips. Inhale. And exhale. And I can feel that my feet need to come a little bit back. Okay, so inhaling. And exhale. And you can just keep pulling out on the strap. It's also okay if you don't use a strap, but you are keeping the thigh bones parallel. Yeah. And again, about 10 to 12 times. So you'll feel, hopefully, your hamstrings and your buttocks, your glutes and your hamstrings supporting you. And again, I think slow and steady wins the race here. The height you lift will probably depend on what you're able to do. I actually haven't been counting, so I have no idea. I'm guessing it's not near 12. I'll do two more, two or three more. Just really focus on how it feels. Like, how does the bum feel? How does legs and hips feel? Okay, please aim for 12 and no strap now. Get rid of that. Okay, so again, you might just stop with that one. If you want to add more difficulty, a little bit more challenge, we're going to lift the hips, but no strap. Set the arms so that your arms feel like they're really supporting you, and lift your bum. Now stamp the feet down and just check in with your knees. So the knees are pointing forward, your feet are about hip width, and you should feel really stable here. Okay, try and keep the neck comfortable. Avoid clenching the jaw or furrowing your brow. So I start to notice if I'm over efforting, my breath becomes more difficult, and I start to clench my jaw. So those are things that you can look out for. So now, as you exhale, you're going to push down into one foot and lift the other foot, and then inhale, place the foot back down. Exhale, inhale. If that's tricky, lower the hips, just do one side, one round, left and right. If you can sustain it, keep the hips up, support yourself with your shoulders. Everything I've said, neck is long, face relaxed. Exhale, bring the foot up. Inhale, put it down, and keep going. Marching on the spot. See if you can avoid your pelvis tipping too much from one side to the other. So just keep the hips level, and you keep going. So you're aiming for a feeling of steady control. Now, another thing you could do is pop a block just underneath the sacrum, and you can kind of support your bum, your pelvis on the sacrum, but then lift up and hover over the block, and just have the block there as kind of a little bit of a safety blanket, if you like. But you don't have to actually use the block. And of course, if you become tired, you can rest down on the block for one breath. And again, avoid the temptation to go too quickly, but definitely adapt and adjust to suit you. Okay. And again, if you assume that one full round is lifting one foot, then lifting the other, we do that up to 12 times and then rest. And just notice if you feel like your pelvis is kind of lowering down or tilting too much left and right. Okay. And you'll be pleased to hear this is the last kind of big exertion. Okay. Let's let everything come down. Oh, and notice how you feel. You might want to bring your knees in, have a little rock on your back. Just check in with your neck. Maybe stretch. And then I thoroughly recommend that you take Shavasana. So rolling to your side, spending about 20 seconds on side lying. So that's about 4 slow breaths. And then roll yourself up. And I'll show you how to set up for Shavasana. So I like to use a cushion or a blanket under the head. I also really like to support the backs of the knees, especially after working so hard. I think I've earned it. Okay. I also like to support underneath the ankles. I'm going to roll up a blanket and put it underneath the ankles like so. Okay. And then I would recommend have another blanket to cover your body. So it should end up looking like this. Do cover yourself for warmth. Have the blanket under the head, right down to the upper part of the shoulders. Chin is a bit lower than the forehead. And arms could come out to the side, or hands can rest on the body. And I'll just be here with you for a minute or two. Then I'll close this recording. But if you have longer, I recommend that you do take a minimum of 15 minutes for Shavasana. So this is an opportunity to really downshift and integrate everything that you've done, all that hard work, allowing the body to soften and relax down. Releasing any tension in the face and in the jaw, and allowing your breathing to be soft. And so when you decide that it's time to move, you're going to slowly bend the knees, connect the lower back to the floor. Any other movements that would feel helpful for you will always come up via side lying and just taking those few breaths on the side before you come up to a comfortable seated position. And then just review, check in, notice how you feel. So again, this is a sequence which you can do quite regularly. And if you don't do the whole thing, you can break it up into sections. You can try this once a day, a couple of times a week. When you become strong and proficient, maybe it's once a week, once a month. Yeah. So enjoy your practice. Thank you for spending the time to do something really good for your body. Namaste.